How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I just had a great conversation with Conor Kenny. I'm going to leave links to his channel underneath the video. Bitcoin just hit all-time highs. We're talking about what's happening in the market, how we're feeling, some of the big news that is happening right now. And we actually talked a lot about trading in this video and how you can actually get really good returns, how we're taking additional risk right now with the market versus what we're staying away from. So stay through to all that. If you do want to trade, there are links underneath the video. You can check out BYDeFi. You can also check out BTCC underneath the video. You can start leverage trading in just a few seconds. This is, I think, something that you can do to actually get a better return than Bitcoin. This is more the high risk portion of our portfolios, but it's something that you can make a ton of money from. And I do this on multiple exchanges. I have like 6 different exchanges underneath the video. I trade on different exchanges because they have different promotions and they have different UI. And, you know, we've been able to make life-changing money from this. And I actually just did a video, a tutorial on how to leverage trade. So if you want to check that out, I'll put it on the end screen.
As you know, Bitcoin has just hit all-time highs, $119,000. I want to ask you, why do you think this is happening? And I also want you to touch on a video you made recently about BlackRock doing something unthinkable. So let me know your thoughts around what's going on right now.
Yeah, so this week, obviously, we hit all-time highs. Actually, we've gone to new all-time highs a couple days. And it's not like there's some big piece of news like Google or Amazon start buying Bitcoin. It's nothing like that. The fact is, it just seems like there are enough buyers that are buying at the same time. OTC desks are running dry. There's not a lot of Bitcoin on exchanges. It pushed up the price enough that there are short liquidations, and that causes the price to go up higher. And then, you know, we have some algorithms and bots and traders that get in on the trade, pushing up even higher, and that can cause a pretty big move. Now, we also have seen just more and more treasury companies come to the market. It seems like every day there's 10 or 5 to 10 new treasury companies that are buying Bitcoin. And like I said, it is a scarce asset. So there's only so much Bitcoin to go around, and there's no end in sight for what they're buying. Michael Saylor continues to buy thousands of Bitcoin a week. We continue to see BlackRock buy about 10,000 to 20,000. They hit 15,000 this week. And the big news is they actually are making more now from their Bitcoin ETF than Vanguard is making from their largest ETF, which is crazy because Vanguard's largest ETF is VOO. This is actually the biggest AUM ETF in the world. They have around $700 billion in assets, and BlackRock in a year and a half is making more from IBIT than they're making from VOO. So just crazy.
Yeah, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, so I think that is the main reason. And it's kind of crazy to think about it, that we still have the Fed possibly cutting rates here soon. It seems like that's probably what's going to happen. We have obviously a couple different inflation readings this week, so that will definitely influence the markets. But yeah, with such a pro-crypto government right now, with so many companies turning pro-crypto and pro-Bitcoin, and this is before nations buy. Of course, there are a couple smaller nations that are buying, but those, like the top nations in the world, have endless money printing capabilities. And while the price didn't go up that much last weekend, actually, I made a video talking about how big it was that the big beautiful bill, as Trump is calling it, got passed. People kind of give me a hard time, like, hey, the price isn't moving. If it's such big news, why does the price never move? The fact is, sometimes it takes a little bit of time, right? And it signals that even the politicians that are supposedly fiscally responsible still want to print money. Trump actually said that, saying, hey, I know that there are some people that want to cut costs and want to like keep the debt down, the money printing down, but let's not get too crazy because we still need to get voted back into office, which is kind of the whole point. At the end of the day, politicians are going to be greedy and continue to do things that will get them votes instead of what's best for their constituents, or the people voting for them. So yeah, I think that's the main reason we're hitting all-time highs.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. Well, I was saying this in one of my videos the other day, like how quickly the sentiment has shifted, right? Because like, I feel like, what, 2 weeks ago, everyone was like, no, crypto's dead. Yeah, Bitcoin's doing all right, but yeah, forget it. It's not going to go any higher. Altcoins are definitely dead forever. Nothing's ever going to happen. And literally 2 weeks later, you can't even get away from people talking about an alt season, how Bitcoin's going to continue, all of this stuff. Now, it gives me cause for concern, right?
Yeah.
Now, maybe it's just because I'm so used to things not working out. I think me and you are pretty set on, we have our spot bags of Bitcoin. We think, next 5-10 years is pretty much a not safe bet, but like in our eyes, it's like we want to keep our money there. What are you feeling about the short term now? Because my sentiment right now is shifting to even more risk on. I think that money is flowing into Ethereum, which is going to flow into the altcoins, and I'm willing to now put some more risk on the table. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I saw someone tweet today like why you should invest in XRP versus Bitcoin, because if you put in $1,000 in Bitcoin, the best you'll do is make like $300 or $500 this run, versus you'll make at least 10 to 50 grand in XRP if you do. So they're saying 10 to 50x in XRP. I saw someone else saying there's going to $1,000 per coin today.
There's people saying that tomorrow it's going to $27,000.
It's crazy. Yeah. Nothing against the XRP community, but there are some people that I think realize that they can engagement farm, obviously, by kind of spreading that kind of hopium. That's not going to happen. There's less than a 0.001% chance that's going to happen. But yeah,
I mean, there's no chance that's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think people are definitely going more risk on. When the Fed starts cutting rates, I think that will be also another signal that people are going to go more risk on, because there's just less of a risk-free rate of return, and people that kind of marks the top, I think, of some Bitcoin dominance trends when the Fed starts lowering rates. So yeah, I definitely see people going more risk on. I think we're both in the same boat where like we've been burned in previous cycles by getting into alts too late or going too heavily into alts. So like we loaded our bags with a lot of spot crypto, and like maybe you're acquiring some more spot. I've largely been sitting on my spot bags. Then if I want to take extra risk, I leverage trade and I trade some of the bigger cryptos. Like there are altcoins I trade like SUI and XRP and Solana and Ethereum. And some of those I have in spot too, but that's kind of where I'm taking my risk, because it's much easier to take profits, I think, from a leverage trade than it is from a spot bag. It feels different. And there's like, it feels like there's more risk in leverage trades. So it feels better, I think, to take profit off the table.
Well, you better to get that profit out early, which is crazy, because like I've been just Bitcoin, for example, like I have my spot bag. I'm happy with my spot bag, so I leverage trade Bitcoin in order to actually feel that euphoria. Like when we hit, I think it was like whatever, like 110 or whatever, and I took some profit out. Like I want to feel. You don't feel it, but I want that money, right? And I took it, and then everyone's like, "You're an idiot because it's going to go higher." And I'm like, "Are you not getting the point? This is the point. The point is that I take my money out of leverage so I can feel comfortable holding spot." And it's like, it seems so obvious to us from this side, but it doesn't seem to be very clear to people how, like, that's how I think leverage should be used, Yeah,
that's a cash flow. That's how you actually turn a profit. Because I mean, if you just buy Bitcoin, you're just holding Bitcoin, right? You're not gaining anything against Bitcoin. But if you trade Bitcoin with like Bitcoin as collateral, or you go 3x on Bitcoin, you can actually acquire more Bitcoin. But yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it. Of course, not taking like 100x leverage positions unless like you're running with a tight stop loss and you're really comfortable with it and it's a small portion. Like I think we again are doing similar things like 3, 5, maybe 10x leverage. I've done like 30, 40, 50x in the past, but again, that's like, it's all position sizing at that point. Like I can go 100x Bitcoin and I can make less money than I do if I go 3x Bitcoin, if I just have a very small trade, because I'm not going to put in 3% of my entire crypto bag in a 100x leverage trade. Like that's just dumb. That's kind of how I'm taking more risk. Obviously, like the major problem with that is if you go long at the top of the bull market, then like you can continue adding margin and you can continue like lowering your liquidation price. But if you're 3x on or 5x on an altcoin at the very peak of the market, then obviously you're still probably going to get wiped out if we go down 60, 70% and you continue adding more margin. That's why it's important to take profits for sure. But I think we're not at that point in the cycle, because there are too many positive things that are out on the horizon. Like one of the obvious things in crypto, like to kind of mark the top of a cycle, is some big event happened and there's nothing else like in mind that could happen that would be bullish. But now we have like the Fed eventually cutting rates. We have Trump eventually buying Bitcoin or acquiring more Bitcoin for a country. We have big institutions or maybe big companies buying Bitcoin, which hasn't happened in a long time. Like Tesla is the last big company that's done that. And it's crazy to think like MicroStrategy was a $2 billion market cap 3 years ago, like in the bottom of the bear market. They were just $2 billion. And now, you know, they've been able to acquire all this Bitcoin, 500,000 Bitcoin in the last 3 years. And they were just a $2 billion company. Like what happens if a 10 or $50 billion company starts doing that and like fully switches over to a Bitcoin treasury company? It's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, how are you feeling about the market? Are you taking more risk? Obviously you said you were a little bit.
Yeah, I'm getting more risky as we get more liquidity. So I'm seeing, you know, like, I mean, right now could be a little bit preemptive. I'm staying small on the position sizes relatively. You know, isolated leverage 3 to 10x on the more risky lower caps. When I say lower caps, I'm still talking large cap like Cardano, Polkadot, Casper. Casper probably is small, a lot smaller, but like that's the sort of thing that I'm talking about now. And then if we get even more of a surge, that's when I'm going to go into, you know, the more degen, really low caps, utilities, gaming, all of that stuff. But right now, I just think a couple of positioning myself in the market and then just waiting. And then because it's isolated, I know exactly how much I stand to lose. And if it goes and hits my stop loss, like soon enough, I think some of these trades that I opened yesterday, they're now getting a little bit of profit. So I may just put a break even stop loss to make sure that I'm safe. But that will, I'll keep the market up. I'll keep the people up to date if they hit that subscribe button, you know.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like it's just so much less work, honestly, to do low leverage trades too than buying altcoins. Because if you're like, let's say you buy now, you go long on Bitcoin, and then we go up to like 130, you have like a significant margin of safety. Even right now, if you buy it and you do 3x, like we'd have to go down to 80,000 for you to get liquidated. Compared to if you go buy an altcoin, like you have to check it all the time. You have to like do research. You really don't know much about it because it's the insiders and the whales that control where the price goes anyways. So then you're always worried about, you're always looking at it. You always have to think about whether you should sell it. But like I can just keep up on the general market and know whether I should sell Bitcoin, XRP, or Solana.
And it's like, it's like if I'm looking at the market, all right, so right now in my head, we have Solana and we have SUI. Those are where I think we're going to have, you know, I think we're going to have another meme season eventually. And I think if we have another meme season on Solana, then there'll be a Solana killer and that will be SUI. Okay, great. So in the Solana ecosystem, in the SUI ecosystem, I go for like these low cap degens, which I will allocate a small percentage of my portfolio to when the time is right. But right now, if I think, like, my research tells me, okay, I believe there's going to be another meme season. People don't think it. So therefore, you know, I'm a contrarian trader and investor. So I think it will happen again because, you know, a week ago, everyone was like, no, this will definitely not happen. So I'm like, okay, cool. I need to position myself. So instead of going and trying to find the meme coins, because I think that's much harder, right? I think it's significantly harder to pick the right meme coin because it's basically like it's okay, cool, maybe it's that one, maybe it's that one, maybe it's that one, you know, there's 100 to choose from. But Solana, if we have a meme season, maybe it goes up 2x, maybe it does a 3x, and that's like conservative, right? And that's all I care about. So if I do a 3 or a 4x leverage trade on Solana, right, which I believe will have a meme season, that gives me a 10x, right? Yeah. Or if it does a 2x, it gives me a 6 or 7x. Like if I did 4x, give me an 8x. It's like, that's what I'm looking for in a meme coin anyway. So why not just position myself in Solana? And then let's say I take $1,000 of my money, right? I'm okay with losing that. I would be okay putting that in a meme coin and hopefully getting a 10x. I put that in a leverage trade for Solana at 3x and I just leave it, right? And then cool, if it goes up 3x, we get that 10x. If it goes down, right, there's less chance in my mind, and I could be wrong, this is speculation, that Solana goes down, right, and liquidates me before I notice, then the random meme coin that I picked just goes to zero and gets rocked, right? So I like that risk to reward. That's what I'm doing in this run.
Yeah, definitely. I think you make a lot of good points there. And I actually set up a new Solana position this week. I already have Solana longs, but I opened up another one because of that reasoning. And like I feel like people get in their heads about getting in at the perfect time with leverage trading, because if depending on how you do it, like it's very important. If you're obviously like day trading or something, you have to get the perfect time. But honestly, like on 3x leverage, like we talked about, it doesn't quite matter as much. It matters more like long-term momentum, because you could be wrong for a few days. If we go down to 110,000, like it's no big deal really if you're on 3x. And like I've been able to do that a lot where I was wrong for the first few days, but there's something big that was happening that will cause the price to go up eventually. And then, we turn, and everyone that's ever levered trade long that didn't get liquidated now is in the profit, right? Like,
yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, just go for it.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like the trades that I opened, I've had Solana, Ethereum, XRP, and ETH open for a while now, right? And it's like people come onto the channel and I'm showing these, they're all in profit right now, but they've been in profit for a few weeks. And it's like people are like, oh, this guy only ever shows profitable trades. It's not real. Traders don't 100% win. And it's like, no, that's of course we lose. Of course I lose trades. But the whole point of this is low leverage and it's a swing trade. And I DCA when the price goes down, right? So there was a time when I was in a massive loss on all of them. And I just kept buying and just waiting because it's like the stock market, right? Because I think we're in a bull market. So I'm willing, and every, couple of days or weeks that I'm putting this money in and it's going in, it's like I'm willing to lose this money and I'll just wait. And now, of course, they're in profit and I get to slowly cycle out the profit. And it's like, what's your exact stop loss? What's your exact take profit? I don't have those because I'm just going on the sentiment of the market. If it's a really nice euphoric day and Solana pumps, I'll take some profit out of it. And I just get to do that as like a piggy bank now in the bull market because we positioned ourselves, or I positioned myself when everyone was scared, when we had the Iran Israel conflict getting worse, when we had the tariffs, that whole tariff situation, I think that's going to go down in history, especially from my my portfolio. I'll be talking about that probably for the rest of my life because, as you know, I was stockpiling cash waiting for a moment because I wasn't really much in the stock market, And then when that happened, I was like, brilliant, I want ETFs. I've just got a 20% discount. And it was blowing my mind because it was the first time, I think, because in COVID, I wasn't ready, right? I wasn't in a financial situation in the sense of like the mindset, because we really thought the world could end. Like there's no argument, we didn't know. But in this financial mindset, it's like, okay, tariffs are not ending the world. It's not a war. And I think we're going to get out of this because I think this is a business decision, right? So we had a 20% price drop. And this gave me the opportunity of what, one of our opportunities of our investing lifetime, right? Because a 20% drop on the S&P, a 25% drop on NASDAQ, Bitcoin was down less or around the same. Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, there's an obvious thing going on here where if Bitcoin is holding up so strong against a worldwide turmoil, I got a great opportunity there. I got opportunity to get into the altcoins. And then not only that, I have such a low risk opportunity when it comes to ETFs because, I'm going to hold these for 10 years. So I get 20% discount in 3 days. And then, I get to hold this. And then, a week later, we were back at break even. And then I'm trying to explain all I did was I just DCA'd on the way down. And then already we're break even. Now we're in loads of profit. And, it's just like, yeah, I guess the whole point of our channels is trying to explain this sort of stuff. And, it's a learning process for all of us. Again, that was my second environment like we had when we had the Ronason pullback. Do you know what I mean? It's the only second time and they don't come very often. So it's like, yeah, you gotta really jump on those opportunities.
Yeah, like once a year, I'd say we see a significant dip like that. And it's funny too, because one big part of that too, we went down to the prior resistance. Like it was textbook. Like we went down from 109, which was all-time highs, down to 75. And the previous resistance was 74. And this had just happened where like the year before we went from 74 down to 49, which was right at the prior resistance of 48. Like it's happened 2 times where we moved perfectly. Like it's as clean as it gets. And yet people still are scared. And people stop watching. Yeah. But I actually just made a video very similar to what you just said about like, I titled it how to day trade crypto, but I basically said don't day trade, swing trade, like go do what we do instead because of all these different various reasons. And it was like a 25 or 30-minute video. And I've been surprised a lot of people have been actually watching it over the last few days. It's starting to tick up. But yeah, day trading is what seems so sexy that you can make 1% a day. That never happens though. That's what people tell you to try to sell you courses. But yeah, you can do this responsibly, what we're doing.
Yeah. And I mean, like, just like, time in the market is better than time in the market. And that doesn't necessarily mean just like leaving your money in for loads of time. We agree that leaving your money in for a long period of time is great, but also being in the market, seeing the way the market moves. You know, okay, I had what happened in 2019, 2020. I saw it happen, but I didn't take as much advantage as I wish I had. I bought Bitcoin in that dip, but that was about it, right? Now, this was the first time since then we had a macro crash, right? And it was like, okay, well, what should I have done then? Now I'm going to apply it. So you have to have been through these crashes, do the wrong thing in those crashes to actually do the right thing eventually, right? So the point I'm making is, like, anyone who's watching this, like, even if you didn't act on that one, now you know the tools, now you know how it works, now you know not to listen to the random TikTok influencer who you really appreciated up until that point, and then you saw him literally say, sell everything because this time's different. I'm referring to someone, I don't know his name, I don't want to get into it, but like, I saw that on TikTok and I was like, this goes against everything that I think I know. Do you know what I mean? Because people like tariffs is the end, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I feel like this happens too, where people get really worried about like what's happening with war, and they think it's just going to crash the markets. And it's like, no, if anything bad happens, they're just going to print their way out of it right now, at least, right? Like no one's just going to let the economy crash. In war, governments like to print money anyways. It's not like they're going to pull back and be, work on austerity and go into a deficit or go into a surplus for that.
And before we end the video, like, literally just don't invest in anything you don't believe in. Yeah. Like, it really is as simple as that, right? I wouldn't be comfortable dumping my money into Bitcoin, NASDAQ, S&P 500 and all world indexes if I didn't believe in it fundamentally. I believe in that, and I believe in property, right? So in crypto, the main one I believe in is Bitcoin. Everything else is a vehicle for me to make more Bitcoin or more cash flow, right? And that's it. I love Ethereum. I think the idea of smart contracts is great. All of that. I think it's going to be the future, all of that. But I'm not really as willing to hold Ethereum like I am willing to hold Bitcoin. Like, you know, people message me like, oh, you're selling your Bitcoin on this move up. No, like, I'm selling my leverage trade of Bitcoin, yes, but I'm not selling my spot because, you know, I don't fancy it. Like, you might feel a little bit different, but everything else in my spot bag, I plan to sell in this run, right? I want to sell it all. I don't care if I'm early. I want to sell it, and then I'll just use that cash to reaccumulate those same altcoins when the inevitable bear market comes. And, you know, I might be wrong for 2 or 3 months or a year or whatever, and people will call me an idiot. And yeah, great, all right, cool. And then it will just crash again, and I'll just dollar cost average again, and we rinse and repeat exactly the same cycle.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to put things in 2 bags, like, or 2 different buckets. One that you actually are comfortable with holding throughout an entire bear market, and then one that you don't really have any conviction in, that you're just trying to make money on. Like, exactly. And a lot of people just, like, they don't know anything about crypto, so then everything is just something that they're trying to make money on. But I think eventually you get to the point where you understand Bitcoin enough where you're like, oh, I'm actually excited if it falls down 50-60%. I'm not gonna panic. But yeah, I agree with you. People need to, that's one of the things about time in the market too. You just understand a lot more. It's not even that you necessarily make a lot more money, because most of the time in the first cycle you lose money because most people come in at the top. But yeah, that's why hopefully you stick throughout the bear market. You know, you can be one of those couple thousand people that stay around compared to the couple tens of thousands of people that watch during the bull market, and then actually make some real money.
Exactly.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool talking with you. It's been a while. We'll have to do this more. Obviously, for both of our channels, there are links underneath the video to different exchanges that we use and to each other's channels. Let us know if you have any questions that you want us to cover in future videos.
Precisely. See you later, Sam.
Bye.